As Linda said, I'm Christine, and I graduated from the ALIFT program. And how I started with ALIFT was I was on the verge of being evicted because I was in a marriage that and we have 4 children who all have mental health issues. And my husband started using substances, so I had to put him out. I wasn't working at the time, and so my rent got behind. I was there actually they were gonna start the eviction process, and the management office sent me to the courts. The courts actually are the ones that made the referral to a lift up. And so I started working really hesitantly because I don't trust a lot of people. Most people don't understand mental illness, or and especially if you have kids, it's really a negative stigma that you deal with. And so I was really cautious as to what I would tell them, how much information I gave them. But as I became more comfortable, one thing that what was really important to me is, as Linda said, the group of women, is that I wasn't alone. There were other people that were kind of not exactly the same, but were experiencing kind of the same things. And to hear their stories and not be judged by that, it really meant a lot. And the other thing is that I needed skills. I had my bachelor's degree in education. I wasn't using it. I hadn't used it for a long time, so I didn't have that to fall back on top of having to be available at the split second for phone calls from schools or wherever else I might get. And so there were even times when I would be on the phone, like literally ready to give up, wanting to commit suicide, because I couldn't take anymore. I didn't know how I was going to feed my kids, how was I going to keep them housed, and keep them out of trouble and on the straight and narrow. And I would call, and they would, like, okay, are you sure? Just make sure that all the safety stuff was in place. And so the other added thing I had is that I, at that point, weighed over 400 pounds, so it was really difficult for me to get around. However, it didn't stop me from going here, there, and everywhere. And so through working with the Lift Up, I kind of came to realize that, I wasn't doing anything except my whole life revolved around nothing but my kids and all their issues. And so, really on the whim and thinking, I'll never get in, I applied for graduate school. And I only applied at one school, which was Salem State, and I got the acceptance letter. And I sat there thinking, oh my God, like, what do I do now? And so I, with the help of a friend of mine, who gave me the registration money, because I didn't have any money spared. I do have a family, however, anybody who has children with mental health issues probably understands that most families don't get it, and my family is a firm believer. I was brought up that if you need a whack, you get it, and I am a firm believer that, and especially I had kids who have ADHD, and 2 of them were on the far end spectrum, and if you hit them, it just throws them into a complete tizzy. And so I automatically was kind of separated from them because I didn't believe in hitting my kids, and repeatedly always heard, well, if you'd just given them a whack when they were younger. And so I had to kind of separate from them in that, like not given as much information. And so I got in, I started Salem State, and the February before that, following September, I had gone in and had gastric bypass. I'm half the size I was, and I went through the program. It was a struggle. I had to, try to balance school and who's going to watch my kids. I had fire setters. I had, and so the other thing is when I was going, I purposely didn't tell my family because they are anti-mental health like you would not believe. And I was going for social work. So I just did not talk about it. And so I was on my way to school one day, and actually the first day, and my sister had called, and my youngest son, who's now 14, answered the phone, and she said, "Oh, where's your mother?" And he says, "Oh, on her way to school." The next thing I know, I'm in the car, my phone rings, it's my sister. "Oh, where are you?" "I'm on my way to classes." "What?" And so that's how they found out. I graduated in August. Now going forward, my plan is hopefully to pass the licensing exam, which I am currently studying for, and get out there and actually,
Oh my God.
and actually do the work that. And the only reason I even applied was because all the social workers I have ever worked with kept saying to me, "You're already doing all the work. Why don't you just get the degree so you can get paid for it?" And so that's how it happened. Life is not all, happy and on an even keel, and there are still times when, like I could be on the verge again of possibly losing my housing, or I get back bills or that because I'm not working right now. But I have the skills that I learned through the Lift Up. And not only that, but I think that most of the time you gain friendships through that and they last long beyond. And the other thing is, a Lift Up, just because you graduate, it doesn't just vanish. It doesn't just leave your life. Like at any time, I could email and say, "Hey, I need this," or "I need that," or do you know where I can get this? And Linda will always respond. And so that, knowing that like you're not completely on your own, it helps to know that there are actually other people out there and where to go and how to do it. Because I had no idea. I grew up in a middle-class family, hard-working. Everybody always had jobs, owned houses, the whole 9 yards. And here I was struggling just to be able to keep my kids with a roof over their head, and had never experienced any of that. So I had no idea where to go, what was available, how to find out what was available, or any of that. And that Lift Up helped make some of those connections for me. And as a result, here I am. And here I am.